warranty when you get your ring checked every 6 months. Traditions has an in-house jeweler with over 30 years experience to take care of your every need. Ring sizing, stone setting, or if you just want to come by and get your ring cleaned. At Traditions Fine Jewelers, we have hundreds of mountings to see, touch, and feel, and to try on, or we can special order or custom create the perfect engagement ring for you. Traditions Fine Jewelers, 5134 Sunset in Lexington, or in the Village at Sandhills. Traditions Fine Jewelers, where the Midlands get engaged.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
Congrats to the Gamecocks women on another national championship.
A Cumulus media station.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour
With Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head.
on your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia.
107.5 The Game.
On 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5
The Game in Florence.
$11 o'clock on your Thursday morning. Welcome in Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark, and who's that other fella in there? He looks familiar.
This is circa 2022.
Old school.
Way back.
Throwback.
Our guy Preston Thorne.
Making his return. Didn't get 3 hours wasn't enough for you this morning.
I had to come back. Had to see your smiling face again, Tyler.
That's right.
He's got more to say.
Oh, yeah. We didn't even scratch the surface this morning in 3 hours.
It was a lot. It was a lot going on. I'm glad to be in here with the fellas, man. How y'all doing today?
We're good, man. Glad to have you. What did y'all talk about this morning?
Ooh.
Everything?
You know,
football.
General nonsense, but you know what we normally do on the early game. But we listened to some of the coordinators discuss.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about how I've noticed the difference in length between Dow Loggins' press conferences and Clayton White's press conferences. Double the amount of time. And I think that's pretty indicative of who they are as coaches. One of the coaches likes to talk and explain, and the other one maybe not so much. So that was probably my big analytical analysis from this morning.
Clayton White makes a good word salad.
Well, I think he's one of those guys. I don't really want to give away a ton. Let me,
he keeps it close.
Let me just get this over with. And I'm going to be polite. I'm going to be nice, but
course.
I'm just gonna. And that's kind of been. That's not a just this week thing. If you go back and look at all of them, it's kind of been the case the entire. And even when Satterfield was the OC, like say what you want, but he would explain things as well.
True.
And Clayton's kind of like, all right, I'm gonna answer this question and get back to some defense.
I got film to watch.
Preston, I've never asked you this, but what is your analysis of Dow Loggins' football hands when he's explaining things?
Oh, he does
You're a
have
big football hands
He
guy.
does have decent football hands. Clayton gets his going too. You saw that when he was watching film with Debo.
Right.
So when he started talking about ghost hands and all these weird types of terms. But but Dow, when you got to get Dow when he starts talking about like the ins and outs of the passing game. Then he starts getting into nub routes and all those types of things.
OC's,
he's into it.
OC talk. They love the passing game. The OC's do.
100%. This is what you found in your experience?
Yes, they love because that's where they can like look smart.
You can imagine things. You can just come up with all these sort of concepts. You're going to run a snag route on this side, backside with a post corner or something. And they're like, all right, coach, I got you, man.
That sounds great.
Sounds great, man. Let's
That's all like Sark. Like Sark's so good at the passing game, and like screen game. I remember there's this one piece I think the Athletic did, and they were talking about Sark, and they were like, man, we had found this thing on film that he did, and we like repped it over and over, and then he came out and countered it with something, and the quote was like it was out of an And One mixtape. Like, so they're just over there like, oh yeah, let's draw up this cool stuff, And sometimes to their detriment, like let's come up with this, and the players are like, what?
Yeah, it makes sense in their minds, and then you have to try and translate it from there. That is the difference.
That is to me the key to an actual great offensive coordinator at the college level is can you tune out the noise of your own brain and be like, we don't have to do all that. Like, yeah, we need to do some of this, but it doesn't have to be this complicated, especially in today's college football world where you're just spreading everybody out, and you have, in Carolina's case, a quarterback that can run the football as well. It's going to provide that threat to run the football. I'm curious to bring it to this year's team. When you guys were playing a quarterback that you knew could obviously throw the football, but was a run threat as well, and you knew they had size. Like, this is not a guy I'm just going to, like, when I make contact with this quarterback, there's going to be a collision as opposed to let's go break this guy in half. What was the mindset of the front going into a game like that versus, oh yeah, we're about to pin our ears back and just hit this dude?
There's two dudes I immediately thought about when you qualified the size aspect. One, I did play against the hefty lefty.
You did.
I did play against him, so I had a chance to jump on his back, and he probably carried. And it was amazing defense. Looking at him in the huddle. You could not tell who the offensive line was. You know, if he didn't have 22 on, you'd be like, I don't know who's the offensive lineman. But probably the best athlete we played at quarterback was Matt Jones at Arkansas.
Wow.
And I don't think he was as much of a threat to throw the ball, but I mean, once he decided that he was going to run, it was pretty much impossible to stop him. And so you spend a lot of your time during the week prepping for what is almost an impossible task when a dude is that much of an athlete. It does really stress out a defense, especially if a guy can really take over the game with his legs.
Didn't Arkansas have Jason Peters then, too? Was that the same team? I know you've talked about him.
That's Preston's favorite.
Did you even get close to Matt Jones because of Jason Peters or anybody?
That's the thing. They had and then bless his heart, Charlie Strong's my coach. He was like, hey, Thorne, you're a freshman. He's a freshman. This should be a good matchup. I was like, I don't think so.
How quickly into that game did you figure out he was going to play in the NFL?
Early. Because he was tossing me around, but he was tossing everybody. That film, he looked like a bouncer at a club. He was just throwing people around. And we had dudes on that team, Kalimba Edwards, Kenny Harney, and everybody left it like, oof. And that was not a fun contest. But yes, thank you for reminding me.
Sorry about that.
Jason Peters was on that team. Yeah,
we talked about this earlier this morning. It was off air, but you've got some sacks against some notable quarterbacks in SEC history.
I do, but the one that haunts me was I missed Rex Grossman in the end zone.
Almost.
And I think about that a lot to this day because it's like, come on, man, I could have got Rex. You know what I'm saying? Like that doesn't seem that difficult to get.
Super Bowl
in the end zone
quarterback.
Too. Yeah, it would have been legit safety.
God.
I think I missed the sack, and I believe I might have got yanked immediately after because it was like a clear it was one of those plays that if I was watching me miss that sack, I would have been taking myself out. Like, get him out. Number 94, we can't do better than this, coach. That's how I would have felt about myself.
Now, did you get a safety at any other point in your college career? That would have been it?
That would have been the one. That would have been the one. Yeah,
Jeez.
definitely missed that one. Thanks, Tyler. You brought up two of my worst memories.
Chris is not coming back to take over.
I asked the question, who did you sack in your career? You brought up the Rex Grossman thing on your own accord.
That's the first thing I could think of. That was the first thing I thought of, right?
You did sack David Green. That's pretty notable.
I got David Green. And like we talked about Matt Schwab, who was huge as a stature, but not really a threat with his legs.
Right.
He was just a big hoss type of dude.
NFL, he hung around the NFL
he was really
for a long
good.
time.
He was good. I think we beat him up during that time.
You had a couple good ones to the ground.
I think we beat him up that time. But yeah, that Rex Grossman one kind of haunts me a little bit.
Did you literally just picture that play again in your mind as you talked about it? The Grossman miss. Did you see?
Yeah, I can kind of see it. It was down.
It's still there.
In the end zone. They beat us up pretty good by the end of that night too.
Was that in Gainesville or that was here?
In Gainesville.
That was the game. Y'all were up early.
No. It was I think it was like 04.
Oh, okay.
We went up. I think.
I was at that game.
I think that game.
I was yelling at you.
Yeah, you was because it was clear.
Get him out of there.
It was one of those deals where the Red Sea parted and it was like me and him, and I just totally shanked on it. It was bad, but
it's okay.
We have to erase that one from the YouTube.
You only wake up in a sweat once a week from that, right?
Yeah, it's rough.
That's the man in the arena though. You're in there. You're putting yourself out there. Sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't.
No, but that one has to go your way. that one.
You're just owning it. You're owning this one completely.
Yeah, that was pretty poor.
Let's talk about a happier moment in your career. How about that? Let's turn it around. How about sacking David Green? How'd that one go?
That was one of those deals where it was a clean sack. I got him, and we were in that game pretty early. I believe it was scorcher of a game, but we got to him pretty early in that game. I think that might have like stopped the drive or something like that. So it was cool.
Now I imagine you also got a lot of pressures on him that day as well, because we talked about the importance of that stat earlier.
I have Chris and Wes, I don't know if you know it, but since pressures have not been an official stat forever, I'm claiming myself as the leading game.
The pressure's king?
The pressure's king.
Okay.
Yes, I have mastered the pressures because we know that's another thing they talked, Clayton talked about how some of the guys on the team said that they led South Carolina was second in the league in pressures, but they were second to last in sacks. And I was like, well, it's good to have a lot of pressures, but we got to get the sacks.
Got to convert them.
Yes.
What do you think about? You remember when Saban said we've referenced this before? Saban went on one of his Saban rants, and it was like, what did he say? He was basically like, "There's no stat that says you got you don't have to have stat." He referenced the NFL, of course.
Yes.
There's no NFL stat that says that sacks have anything to do, and he said it's about affecting the quarterback. But to me, well, you just look at last year. I imagine most of those pressures that South Carolina generated were in November. First of all,
that's ooh.
You know what I mean?
Got to break that down too.
When you change 3-3-5 defense, they did.
It's a Bam Martin Scott related.
It's Bam Martin Scott, Jaron Willis, 3-3-5. Right when you make that tweak, boom! All of a sudden they do start generating some pressures. So I would imagine it's skewed that way. But I don't know. Those two stats don't match up because eyeball test, and if you just look at the stats and the results, they didn't get enough pressure on the quarterback. Like however you want to categorize that.
That's the thing. Like, how do we? Is it what is pressure? Is he when he's one step close to him? Is it two steps close to him? Is it when you make it move a little bit? Do you force the throw early? So there's really no way to categorize that. I will never disagree with Coach Saban because obviously he's the GOAT. I will just take a slight thing to say that. What would you prefer? Would you prefer to have a team with a bunch of pressures or a team with a bunch of sacks?
That's right.
I think the answer is pretty clear.
Yeah.
Certainly so.
I feel like this is a Tyler question. Tyler, what is a pressure?
So we tried to get there earlier today.
So you already hit this.
Essentially, if you're moving the quarterback off their spot, if you're affecting them in some kind of way, and which we talked about, it's like, all right, if you're 5 yards away from him and he steps out of the pocket himself, are you getting a pressure from just being in the vicinity? And what we talked about, who, depending on who's scoring this, if you're at home compared to being on the road, maybe you get more pressures at home versus in a road game. This could kind of go either way.
That is my problem ultimately with stats and analytics as being the end all be all. I watch MLB all the time. Nothing is an error anymore. It used to be, that's an error. If you were supposed to make a play, and these dudes are incredible defensively, they're supposed to make a lot of plays, and they're like, that's a hit. I'm like, what? And not to be Preston yelling at the clouds, but when I was watching...
There we go. Now we're warming up.
No, when I was watching baseball growing up, that's an error, dude. You were supposed to make that play. So who's deciding that's there's some online chatter. People are talking. So y'all know ODU has a linebacker.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
We're well aware.
Oh,
y'all talked about this.
We have not talked about. I have.
Okay.
You have not talked about this.
We've been holding this back.
He's an All-American.
I have the clip.
2-time.
Hold on. I have the clip.
2-time.
I'll save it for the other side because we need a thorough explanation on what's been going on from our friends over at Split Zone Duo. We'll hit that coming up next. Quickly reminder, tomorrow, 107.5 The Game, Summer Golf Classic out at Charwood Golf Club in West Columbia. All proceeds going to be benefiting Camp Discovery. Going to be raffling off Gamecock season football tickets, lunch by Firehouse Subs, giving away our ultimate season ticket giveaway as well. It's going to be a great time if you're already signed up. Looking forward to seeing you out there. We're going to be broadcasting all day long as well in Charwood Golf Club in West Columbia. Continue on Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on your Thursday on The Game.
107.5 The Game.
In Columbia.
100.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.3 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach. The Game Network. Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV. 107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
All right, we were out at Firehouse Subs on USC's campus yesterday. Shout out to Larry Chandler for letting us to come out there yet again and commandeer the store. Had a great time. A lot of folks came by. Students were back. And the best part, honestly, we got to see some of you. We got to check out an array of Firehouse Subs. Got to check out the new Captain's Club. That's their newest limited time offering. As the signature Captain Sorensen's hot sauce, the new Firehouse Hero sauce, oven roasted chicken, melted pepper jack cheese, crushed red pepper flakes, crispy bacon, lettuce, tomato, and onion. A lot of stuff. A lot going on the Captain's Club. Go check it out. There's 14 different Midlands Firehouse Subs locations, so no matter where you're at in the Midlands, there's one closest to you. Use our favorite method to use the Rapid Rescue to go. You can avoid the wait, order online. It'll be ready and waiting for you when you get to the store closest near you. FirehouseSubs.com or download the Firehouse Subs app. Earn yourself some free rewards towards future purchases using the app, FirehouseSubs.com.
When someone first comes in and you see that discouragement on their face, they've tried so many different products, but nothing seemed to work for them. I'm able to take that and turn it into hope.
You're listening to Mallory, an arch support specialist at the Good Feet store.
They try the arch supports. You see their face brighten up from feeling discouraged to being happy and hopeful again. You're helping people. We're able to take them from the pain to the possibilities.
Try them for yourself with a free fitting at the Good Feet store.
The Good Feet store. Call 1-800-NEW-FEET or visit goodfeet.com.
This year, Roy and Dana Finley are shaking things up at AAA Heating and Air. For the next 12 months, they're telling their customers no. Get a new system purchase with no payments and no interest until 2025. And don't forget their 15-year parts and labor warranty, $1,500 old system buyback, and guaranteed financing. So do what I did. Call AAA Heating and Air for your free estimate today and tell them Jay Phillips sent you.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
Hi, Jen here. Did you know you could earn up to 4.59% annual percentage yield with All South Federal Credit Union's premium checking account? That's 30 times more than the national average interest checking rate, which means more money in your bank account each month. Plus, they have 23 locations right here in the Midlands. Open an account online at allsouth.org or visit an All South location today to start earning more. All South is federally insured by the NCUA.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I occasionally have nerve discomfort in my hands, so the things I love to do...
Let's play something, Grandma.
...became difficult as I got older.
If you have occasional stabbing and burning in your hands and feet, try Nervive Nerve Relief. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use. Say yes to healthy nerves with Nervive Nerve Relief. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Twin Peaks Scratch Kitchen scores every time. Dig into hand-smashed burgers, chef-inspired flatbreads, and more at your local lodge.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour
with Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark, our guy Preston Thorne hanging out with us. Special episode here on this Thursday. And Preston, we've scratched the surface on something here at the end of the last segment. An investigation into some nefarious stat keeping is maybe the best way to phrase it in reference to one star
We don't know that yet. We don't know that yet.
Old Dominion.
Just asking questions, that's all.
Preston brought this to my attention last week.
Listen, I was trying to do my prep and I was listening to Split Zone Duo and they had the little segment on ODU and then the host went on a pretty substantial rant and I had to throw the alarms into the group chat like, hey, fellas, this might be something to pay attention to.
So here's what Split Zone Duo podcast had to say about Jason Henderson of Old Dominion.
But tackling accounting.
Try that again.
But tackling accounting is just the Wild West. Just absolutely the Wild West.
Godfrey, I can't believe.
Is this the next scandal?
Yes. Not the next scandal. It's a current scandal.
Steven, I can't believe you're okay with this. The linebacker is Jason Henderson for Old Dominion. Okay, let me give this to you.
Call the cops.
2022, credited with 128 assisted tackles.
I feel like we've done this on the show before.
Well, I mentioned it a couple years ago, and it got worse. 2022, 128 assisted tackles credited, 40 more than anybody else. Raised a red flag about it at the time, but I was ignored, and this behavior has only continued. 2023, 118 assisted tackles, 16 more than anyone else. First team All-America spot for this. He was 46th and tied for 75th in solo tackles the last 2 years, but he is credited as having dozens more tackles over the past 2 years than any other player in college football, 39 more than second place in 2022, 40 tackles ahead of the next most tackles. And then the last 2 years, that's 246 credited assisted tackles, 8 per road game, 13 and a half per home game. What's the difference between road games and home games? It's the official scorer, who is an Old Dominion employee. It is a scandal in plain sight. Old Dominion's official scorer is totally distorting the national tackling leaderboard in college football.
I will take this a step further. Last year in college football, out of the top 10 overall total tacklers, 3 of them had a huge disparity between solo tackles and assisted tackles. 2 of them played for Old Dominion.
Ooh.
Jason Henderson had 51 solo tackles and 116 assists. His teammate Wayne Matthews, 39 solos, 96 assists. Something's going on here, guys.
All I'm saying is everybody's antennas should be up. That's all I'm saying is there's a distinct difference between, it's not as if there's a difference between a zone read on the road and a zone read at home. He's still playing the same A and B gap. So why is he making so many more tackles at home? What is going on? People are asking questions.
He's just fueled by the Monarch faithful.
I was ready to argue with y'all on this and be like, well, he's clearly more comfortable at home, just plays better at home. His girlfriend gets to come to the game at home. But when you added the layer that 2 of the 3, play for ODU.
Yep.
That's a layer that's hard to, I would say, argue against.
That reminds me, y'all remember, this was in the earlier days of, message boards and all that. So probably, it was when Spiller and Jacoby Ford played for Clemson. Now, those guys were fast, obviously, very fast. And they had them both on the same team. But, there'd be all these reports coming out of Clemson and be like, we had 13 players run a 4.1. It's like, no, you didn't. They would all be you would have 2 4x1 Olympic. Please send them to the Olympics so we can win another gold. You know what I mean? No, you did not. We had 9 guys run a 3.9. It's no, you didn't.
It's the same thing with stop clocks. Y'all have been in this series.
Oh yeah.
I've only seen 2 people run legit for low 4.3s, and that was Dante Robinson and Troy Williamson. Those are the only 2 people. Everybody else, you might get a 4.38, 4.4, and I don't think sometimes we start talking recruiting, we're like, He's only a 4'4" guy. I don't know. This guy's.
I don't know if he can cut it around here.
He can keep up.
He's a 3-star. He only runs 4.5. Y'all like, I don't think you know how fast that actually is. And then when you get to the next one, and then you hear some other reports about guys that are running 4.3s, and you're like, no, he didn't, because there's very few people in the whole world that can run those things. So all I'm saying is, a sack is when you place the quarterback on the ground with the ball. That is it. We are clear about that.
Sure.
Pressures, we don't know what those are. Same thing like a tackle. We know what a tackle is, but there's a stat that they're familiar with. I don't know if y'all are familiar with in high school football. They call it the JOP. Y'all know what that is? That's the jump on pile. That's the old analytics of jumping on the pile. And some guys get a lot of statistics based on the old JOP metric.
That's putting your name on the project after it's done.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you might get an assisted tackle for that.
So, all right, but before you said the thing about two ODU guys being on there,
right?
My, not argument, but question was going to be, we don't have the data to know how many other guys, like if you take random all-SEC linebacker, is there also a huge disparity between home and away for them as well? So if everybody is playing by that rule, Tyler's pointing at me like he's got the answer to this, which I don't know how he would. But
probably
if everybody's getting a little extra bonus points, this one you can make a 105 instead of a 100 in class. If everybody's getting bonus points at home, then does it even out?
The third person I'm talking about here in the top 10, he was the SEC's leading tackler, was Nathaniel Watson at Mississippi State. He actually has a pretty big disparity, too. He had 35 solo tackles, 102 assists last year. So there might be something fishy going on in Mississippi State too. But
or everywhere.
Well, not everywhere, because when you look at the rest of the top 10, like Jay Higgins, leading tackler at Iowa last year, 79 solo, 92 assists.
That's right.
All right, pretty fair balance there. When you go a little bit down the list, Nick Martin at Oklahoma State, 83 solo, 57 assists. Like, pretty fair balance, and sometimes the solo outweighs the assist. But when you have this gross disparity of literally almost 70 difference between solo and assist, that's where things get a little funky.
Well, Mississippi State, known cheaters, too, because they do the cowbells. You're not supposed to do that.
Correct.
But I feel like a solo tackle, that should be way more valuable.
You should get a 0.5, like 1.5 for that.
That's way. You just tackled a guy in a one-on-one situation,
right?
So USC's leading tackler was Debo Williams last year. 67 solos, 46 assists.
That seems fair. Also, I would point to, if the person has more solos than assists, that's probably more indicative that they're playing well, as opposed to less solos and a lot of assists. That seems
helping finish off somebody else's tackle.
A lot of JOPs.
Which, by the way, 51 total tackles would put him, just in solo tackles alone, 84th in the nation last year in solo tackles.
That would put Debo at 80?
No. Jason Henderson.
Okay,
Debo's 17th in solos at 67.
I see what you're saying.
That's pretty good. I think the only way to, not that any of us have time, but if anybody wants to do this, go through some full games and chart the tackles for Jason Henderson.
See,
please don't do that, though.
The unfortunate part
I don't want any part of asking anyone to do that.
The unfortunate part is Old Dominion games are not readily available, because I tried to go back and watch their bowl game the other week and couldn't find it.
That's why it's a perfect scandal.
You can't never prove it.
Nobody really knows.
Unless you saw it with your own eyes.
Right. That's what makes for great scandals and great storytelling. How big was the fish? It was this big.
It gets bigger every time.
Was you there?
I don't know. And retroactively, he can just tack on another 10 tackles every single year. The more years that go by,
That's all I'm saying.
Can't prove him wrong.
I think it's worthy, especially when we come into next week and we start hearing about the scouting reports. Because what are the coaches?
His name's going to be at the top of it.
And I imagine the coaches are going to be like, they had a guy with 150 tackles, and you as an informed fan can be like, I don't know.
And they beat Virginia Tech 2 years ago. That'll be referenced.
How early in the press conference will that be mentioned?
That's like
first sentence.
Is there? This brings me a great question. I know we got to go to a break, but is there an expiration date on a big victory?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because how many years do you get to either take credit for it, or even more importantly, get to use it as motivation. Like, they beat
this
such
team,
and such in 2015.
Coach, nobody's left.
Firehouse Subs text line 803-404-6100. What is the limit of how long you can use a big victory when talking about your team?
Hit that coming up next. App State they'll bite you.
Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Carolina Calls returns tonight, by the way, with Coach Beamer. Maybe he'll get asked about it then. Who knows? With that, coming up next, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on The Game.
The Game Network in Columbia. 107.5 The Game. In Florence. 100.5 The Game. In Myrtle Beach. 100.3 The Game.
Yes, that phone in your pocket or purse will keep you in touch with your family and friends. It will take great selfies of you on amazing adventures or just this morning's breakfast. And it's pretty good in case of an emergency. But the single most important function of your phone is the game.
But both defenses have been this year. What's so funny?
The noise.
You can listen anywhere. Just go to iTunes or Google Play and download the Game app now.
All right, everybody. You should be familiar with them by now. We've been telling you for months about our friends over at Classic Roofing. But if you need more information, head on over to classicroofingsc.com where you can get info on their services, or you can set up a free estimate for your roof. Give them a call today, 803-590-7870. If you call that number, the great thing about Classic Roofing is you're going to talk directly with one of the owners, Joe Reeder, Max Sawyer. They're going to take great care of you, just like they did me and my wife with our roof. With a wealth of experience spanning more than 20 years, their team of experts is well equipped to handle any and all of your roofing requirements. That could be a residential project, a commercial undertaking, or really anything in between. They have got you covered. The mission is simple: provide you with top-notch roofing solutions that will not only protect your property, but also enhance its curb appeal. Again, that is Classic Roofing. You can call them today or go online, classicroofingsc.com or 803-590-7870.
107.5 The Game football kickoff tournament is coming up Friday, August 23rd at Charwood Golf Club, where one lucky winner will receive season tickets to South Carolina home football games. Call Charwood to register your foursome. We'll see you August 23rd at Charwood.
Hey, Columbia, Scott here with Traditions Fine Jewelers, telling you about the diamond buying difference when you purchase a diamond from us. No matter if you're looking at mined diamonds or lab-grown diamonds, at Traditions Fine Jewelers, we have a huge selection of both, and which you choose is up to you, but either way, you always get trade-in value of the diamond solitaire you purchase. When you spend over $1,500, you'll get a limited lifetime warranty when you get your ring checked every 6 months. Traditions has an in-house jeweler with over 30 years experience to take care of your every need: ring sizing, stone setting, or if you just want to come by and get your ring cleaned. At Traditions Fine Jewelers, we have hundreds of mountings to see, touch, and feel, and to try on, or we can special order or custom create the perfect engagement ring for you. Traditions Fine Jewelers, 5134 Sunset in Lexington, or in the Village at Sandhills. Traditions Fine Jewelers, where the Midlands get engaged.
Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union wants to reward you for saving more of your hard-earned money, and they can't think of a better way to do it than with more cash. When you participate in Palmetto Citizens Save to Win program, every time you make a savings deposit of just $25, you'll be entered into a monthly and quarterly prize drawing for a chance to win up to $5,000. All the money that piles up in your Save to Win account is yours to keep, along with the interest you earned, so there's never been a better time to get the ball rolling on your savings plan. With a Save to Win account, there's nothing to lose and everything to win. Open your 12-month Save to Win term certificate account and start saving today by visiting any of Palmetto Citizens' 14 branches across the Midlands, or go to palmettocitizens.org to learn more. Palmetto Citizens, proudly serving the Midlands since 1936. Account may be subject to penalty for early withdrawal. This credit union is federally insured by the NCUA.
Honey, would you take a seat? I have a confession to make.
What is it? What's wrong?
Well, I was out driving today and I saw some hookers on the side of the road. A bunch of huge, professional, beautiful-looking hookers. So I did what I was supposed to do. I slowed down and I moved over.
You slowed down for the hookers?
Well, yeah, it's the law. There was a whole fleet of Schroeder's towing trucks assisting with an accident. Wait, what did you think I was talking about?
Schroeder's Towing reminds you to slow down and move over for all first responders.
Schroeder's Towing, the best and fastest hookers in town.
Owners Gene and Debbie Royer of All American Heating and Air.
I think that's the biggest mistake ever of putting a technician on commission. My technician has no reason to overcharge. We don't do that.
You can trust All American.
When your heating and air breaks down, it's an emergency to you. It's an emergency to us also.
All American's technicians are NATE certified.
Let our family help your family. We're All American.
All American Heating and Air.
AllAmericanHeatingandAir.com.
What you're talking about.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark. Our guy Preston Thorne hanging out with us for a special episode today. We talked about going into the break there. Old Dominion has a couple wins over Virginia Tech in the past handful of years. In fact, I had a friend back in college that was a big Virginia Tech fan when they lost to them back in 2018. I'm pretty sure he was outside of Justin Fuente's house with pitchfork and torches, ready to run him out of town because that was kind of his final straw. So, yes, Old Dominion does have success. That's college football for you, man. Old Dominion does have success against Power 4 teams, and I'm sure that will be brought up to Coach Beamer sometime between now and next week when the game is played. Just 9 days away, by the way. So the question is, how long can you brag about those program-defining wins, and when does that, I guess, statute of limitation run out?
That's the word.
Yeah. So, all right, I think I have an answer. If you're a fan and you're bragging about your team, a lot of it depends on how big was the win. So it's like, and if you play a team every year and it's like your rival and you like beat them 5 years ago, but then they've beat you 4 in a row, probably can't brag too much longer. But I mean, you mentioned App State. If you're App State, you're bragging about beating Michigan for the rest of your life.
So the expiration date on that?
There is no expiration date on that.
That one also, that's the definition of college football upset. Like when you think about huge upsets, you think about that game because of how polarizing it was. Yeah, I think App State can brag about that one forever.
But there's a different answer for a coach going into the weekly press conference and be like, well, hey, App State beat Michigan
that one time.
Yeah. So
these guys are dangerous.
Now, I think ODU, that was 2 seasons ago. They beat
2022,
Yeah. I think they're right on the edge of still being able to mention it. 1 year later, like next year.
Because they can be like, well, Jason Henderson, who has 700 tackles, was on that team. He's probably going to give a good speech before the game.
That's true.
Yeah, that's where I draw the line.
And that was a home game, so.
Did he have that many tackles in that game? That's what we don't know.
Let me investigate. I'll get back to you in a second.
How many of them were solo?
I'll get back to you in a second. 1 second.
What do you say, JOP?
JOPs. You get those JOPs. And the really thing about that, when you get into statistics, especially in the NFL, this turns into money. Because, you start getting off half sacks. And if I have an escalator clause, you remember the thing with Clowney when he was trying to get his bonus last year and he just barely, they gave him credit for the sack and he got like 750 or something like that. This stuff matters.
Against Virginia Tech in 2022 when Old Dominion won 20-17.
At home,
2 solo tackles, 14 assists.
I pulled up the highlights for that game, and all I'm saying is I didn't see him even near the ball making a tackle. Now mine was it was more than highlights too. It was like the extended highlights.
He's number 42.
Okay,
so look out for.
No,
42.
I saw him. I was watching for it.
No, you said I saw him.
I just didn't see any tackles.
Right.
Guys, he's an All-American, so
he's a good player.
And that's really the thing that the splits don't do was saying. It's like it's not as if he's a phantom player. He's a really good player.
Sure.
Almost to the point they don't need, if there is some nefarious or foul play on the statistics, they don't need to do this because he's actually really good.
But like if they're not doing this, he's not being discussed as one of the top tacklers in the nation.
That's probably true.
Which is. If there's an incentive to doing this, that's why. Like, hey, wow, we got the second best tackler in the entire country on our Old Dominion football team. Like, if he's getting legitimate stats, he's probably maybe in the 30s or somewhere around there, something like that, which isn't bad, but it's not like top 10.
Yeah. Who knew?
These frauds, the fraudulent
there you go.
Old Dominion Monarchs.
There you go.
See, and you guys have been talking about me not respecting them this entire offseason. They don't deserve my respect now. They're gonna fudge numbers like this.
Yeah. So do you think this and this guy that's keeping score, the scorekeeper, he's just doing his job, guys.
Yeah.
And he has no idea he was going to be talked about on the Split Zone
and
podcast.
Are you going to punish the guy for this? No. I mean, until these guys brought it up, nobody's really looking into it.
Well, here's the thing. There is like a secret oath amongst stat keepers that, you promise to uphold the sacredness of the game. And if he's being outed as somebody who is making the whole profession look bad, this might be something. All I'm saying is we trust stat keepers with our sports lives. We take what they say as the truth. And if he's playing fast and loose with these numbers, maybe there needs to be some investigation.
Hey, in addition to, like you said, you get the pros that could affect your contract. What about gambling as well?
Ooh,
a lot of gambling now is not, an over-under or a line. It's more based on production of it. It's almost like fantasy football type gambling where you're, is this guy going to have this many yards or this many tackles, this many sacks? And, I mean, there's something to be said. That's why they're talking about actually doing an official injury report in college football like the NFL does. A lot of it is driven by gambling. But here's the thing. How many colleges play football? There aren't the resources to be like, hey, we're going to have an official NCAA mandated outside source to be the stat keeper for every game. You have to have somebody for your university to be the official stat keeper just because that's what everybody else has to do as well.
It's interesting.
They're doing research over here. I'm watching Preston play Arkansas on YouTube.
You are
right now,
and this is a really terrifying experience. It feels like I'm naked in front of Wes right now. He's like watching me play. I'm like, I can't excuse what 204 Preston was doing.
Now, do you go back and watch games yourself?
Absolutely.
No,
not.
You don't.
No, man, because it's way worse. Than
when
you
was the last time you saw what he's looking at right now?
I don't know.
Was it in the week after when you were reviewing the film?
I definitely probably didn't even watch it then. I think I feel like I think I might have just got clipped just now.
Now, Preston, I wasn't gonna say it.
I think it was me.
Now, what was
golly?
What was the conversation with Coach Strong after that one?
Oh, he wasn't there at the time.
Okay, he was gone by that point.
He wasn't there at the time.
Okay.
But if I'm seeing this play correctly, the offense did one of their tricks where the running back chipped blocked me.
Well, you were running a stunt.
Running a stunt, and I was running all willy-nilly, and I think somebody might have – I think it was a decleater. It was a decleater, right?
Yeah. Now, you don't have to feel too – I'm a ball watcher, so I'm not watching – I haven't been I've been watching the game, but I did see that one. I
just saw those feet come off the ground, and I think
I did see that one.
It was me.
That's not supposed to happen.
Do you want to see it or no?
No,
break.
We can move forward.
How about this?
I feel like I'm in film session.
To get his mind off of it, I tried to explain the new SEC tiebreaker rules to my best degree earlier this morning to Preston. Let's revisit that and see if we can all collectively get on the same page with how this is going to go down.
I already know this is going to go poorly.
It is very confusing. We'll hit that coming up next. Quickly, though, reminder, the only craft beer, wine, and spirits tasting event held indoors is coming to Columbia. Saturday, September the 28th, Sips and Sounds Cola. Go online and get your unlimited tasting wristband now at sipsandsoundscola.com. Again, sipsandsoundscola.com for the event coming up on Saturday, September the 28th. Come back and wrap up today's Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on your Thursday here in the game.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach. The Game Network. The Game's Summer Golf Classic Golf Tournament is coming. Sign up start the week of July 29th. Call Charwood at 803-755-2000 to reserve your foursome. One lucky player will win a pair of season tickets to all Gamecocks home football games.
The Games 2024 Summer Golf Classic is August 23rd at Charwood. Call 803-755-2000 to reserve your foursome.
This is Maggie Gray with a Sports Minute. Bo Nix has won the starting job in Denver after an impressive preseason, and this should be no surprise. Nix played 5 years of college football and is 24 years old. Expect head coach Sean Payton to try to turn Nix into Drew Brees 2.0. I'm Maggie Gray.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this. If something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
You've got to watch your NFL team every Sunday, and Verizon's got you covered for all your team's out-of-market games every Sunday afternoon. Come on! From kickoff to sign-off, from first downs and touchdowns
right.
to turnovers, no, and overturned plays.
After review, the pass was incomplete.
Nice!
Let's go! This season, win every Sunday with Verizon. Get a great deal on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV and a new phone. Excludes digital-only games. Terms and embargoes apply.
Is your crawl space damp or musty? Water in your crawl space can cause wood to rot and creates an environment for mold and mildew that can make its way inside your home. Canty Foundation Specialist specializes in crawl space repair. Call us today for your free inspection so you can have the peace of mind knowing your crawl space is dry and your home is protected. Call today, 803-424-8380, or visit cantycanfixit.com.
The Clemson Jackpot $5 scratch-off ticket is back, giving you a chance to win up to $200,000 while supporting future Tigers. And level the playing field with a second chance promotion for another shot to win $50,000, $75,000, or $100,000. Let's show them what we're made of, Tigers. The South Carolina Education Lottery, supporting education for more than 20 years. Overall odds are 1 in 3.98. Top prize odds are 1 in 520,000. Second chance odds depend on number of entries received.
Lowe's knows saving pros time and money means getting the job done easier. Right now, get up to 50% off select composite decking and railing. Plus, get an extra 5% off every day on eligible purchases when you use your Lowe's business credit card. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Selection varies by location while supplies last. 5% off or subject to credit approval. Exclusions and terms apply. See store Lowe's.com/credit for details.
You go into your shower feeling, but as soon as you reach for the Irish Spring, your day immediately gets better. That crisp, fresh, unmistakable Irish Spring scent zings your brain and awakens your senses. So when you finally emerge from the shower, 37 minutes later, because you pay the water bill so you can stay in there as long as you want, you're ready to take on the day and smell great doing it. Irish Spring Body Wash and Bar Soap. Fresh, green, Irish. Shop now at Walmart.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark. Our guy Preston Thorne been hanging out with us all morning long as we've gone in a lot of different directions here. We've uncovered the fraud of Old Dominion stat keeping.
Preach.
Discussed the pressure versus sack debate spurred on by Clayton White's conversation yesterday as Wes Mitchell reacts to something that I don't think went too well for Preston in that Arkansas game back in 2004.
Well, we've already seen that. Yeah, we're moving the ball now. We're moving the ball.
Moving the ball.
I was at this game.
What do you remember of Preston's performance?
I was a ball watcher.
Ball watcher.
So, as far as I knew, he did great.
Well, he probably had 100 pressures in that game. So
a lot of pressures.
All-time pressure.
We
leader.
did just see him make a reach-out arm tackle that we are counting.
Yeah, but
for the record.
It's a solo. Add to your list there. Earlier this morning, Preston and I were talking about the new tiebreaker procedures that the SEC has rolled out.
Clarification. Tyler was talking about.
You were listening?
I was trying to break this down because there are 6 different criteria points here on how they can decide this. Because, again, there's no division, so you have a lot of teams that aren't going to play each other, where you could have multiple teams tied for, say, second place to try and see who goes to Atlanta, which is very plausible. Of course, you have head-to-head, which makes total sense. You take whoever's the winner of the head-to-head, and that team goes over the other one to play for the conference championship. You have record versus common opponents. Okay, now we're getting a little interesting because you take the teams that they played each other and see who had the better record against that. You have the record against highest placed common conference opponent in the conference standings and proceeding through the conference standings
I've glazed
among
over.
tied teams.
Yeah, I've glazed over.
One more time for us.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you, but
record against highest placed common conference opponent in the conference standings and proceeding through the conference standings among the tied teams. So you'd say, okay, how did you do against the best team both teams played? Against the next best team, and so far and so forth.
Why didn't you say it that way?
That's the way it's written. Cumulative conference winning percentage of all conference opponents among tied teams. And this is the most intriguing one to me. The 5th criteria for determining the tiebreaker. Capped relative total scoring margin versus all conference opponents amongst tied teams.
What does capped and relative mean?
I call this the Vanderbilt rule. Okay? So, Vanderbilt's the easiest team to blow out in the SEC. No disrespect.
Respectfully.
However, I feel like they're capping this because let's say you're deciding between Alabama and LSU on who's going to go to Atlanta to play for the SEC championship game, right? Let's say Alabama played Vanderbilt, smoked them 70-0. LSU's easiest opponent was Mississippi State, only beat them by 21 points or something like that. You are not allowing Alabama the advantage of playing a weaker opponent to benefit them in the scoring margin. So you might say, we're going to take your margin of victory over conference opponents, but cap it at 30 or something like that. So those extra 40 points against Vanderbilt don't benefit you in that way, if that makes sense.
But what is the cap?
I don't know.
They haven't said.
There's no clarification.
Seems like important information.
They should have clarified, but I could not find anything.
But Tyler, you actually explained that very well.
That was good.
That's the way that I understand how it worked.
I like how you called it the Vandy rule, too.
Well,
it's amazing.
I mean, that's what makes the most sense to me.
Yeah.
Because that's the team that most teams end up blowing out. And then at the very end, the 6th criteria, random draw.
How mad. First of all, you'd have to get through all those things, which seems very unlikely. Oh, your winnings percentage was both .738 or whatever. You got to get through all those things, and then it's a random draw. You've done all that work, and you lose on a drawing.
Listen, I suggested a Friday night's lights coin flip at a truck stop, personally. Now, how this if it gets to a random draw, this is definitely an SEC Network special, right? Like, we're going to spend an hour building up to this thing for Greg Stinky to pull a piece of paper out of a hat, right? Or a football helmet, I guess.
The best part of it is, imagine, just for hypothetical, it was like South Carolina and like Texas or something, and Texas wins. Can you imagine they froze the envelope? You remember the NBA draft back in the day? David Stern, he froze the envelope so they could feel it.
How many lottery balls were in the big globe that was spinning?
Like I said, the tinfoil hats are going to come out the second the winner is announced.
Yes.
Like, of course, Alabama gets to go to the championship game over Missouri. No way that's not going to happen, right? Yeah, this is going to go over well.
Whoever wrote that up, they was like, they're not going to get to 6. Let's just put
it does seem unlikely.
Draw.
But doesn't putting the cap on the one before that increase the chance that could, if it got to that point, that could actually happen?
Yeah,
like if both teams had blown out everybody,
sure.
Why wouldn't you just, the chances by capping it, if we got all the way through all those other things,
right?
If there was no cap, you could the chances of it still being a tie are near zero. But by capping it, there's at least a chance.
I think it's one of those things when they wrote the rule, it probably sounds really good. But again, until they run into that scenario.
But that's a decision they made.
That is a decision that they made.
Why do you cap it? Because if you think about it in terms of Premier League soccer, I don't think they cap the goal. Now the goal differential is it's like 3 goals. You won by 3 goals or whatever, something like that.
Right.
But
I mean, if you don't cap it, you are rewarding just beating the absolute heck out of the team when you're already up big.
And that to me, and I really hope somebody can ask Beamer this question either tonight or at his presser next week, does that change your thought process when you're blowing a team out? Like, let's say you're not blowing a team out necessarily.
The 5th tiebreaker?
The 5th tiebreaker.
No.
Okay, let's say
he's on the headset. Hey,
let's
guys.
say you're up on Vanderbilt by 28 points. Typically, you're calling off the dogs, putting in your subs or whatever. Are you still trying for that extra touchdown maybe at the end? Like, I know it seems so crazy that you could get to this scenario, but you never know. And that's always going to be in the back of your head, right?
I would venture to say that 0 SEC coaches have any understanding of what the tiebreaker rule is. This is going to be one of those things that they find out if they find out
after the fact.
Yeah,
like,
they're going to
wait
be
a
like,
minute, we got a random draw to decide if we're going to Atlanta or not?
Yeah, kind of like the NFL overtime rules. And you're like, what?
Wait, we can go to overtime? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they'll find out if they need to. But this is way down the priority list of the things that I'm sure coaches are worried about right now.
I dove too far into this last night, so that's immediately my thought. Like, oh my God, do you have to change the way that you think about the end of a game when you're up by 28 or something like
Tyler,
that?
that's going to be your value to the staff. You're going to walk in and you can say, guys, before we go any further, did you know that the 5th tiebreaker decision is based on cap scoring against your opponent? We got to do something about this.
And then Beamer's going to say, how'd you get in here? Please leave.
Get this guy out.
But I mean, we'll see. We'll see how deep this goes.
Like I said, the thing that was amazing to me is that just before the meetings, before the summer was started, Greg Sankey was like, "Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna decide ties, man. We'll figure it out sometime."
You know, nothing wrong with 10 days before, I guess.
We'll figure it out.
We'll see if it comes to fruition. Preston, always appreciate hanging out with us. You got to
let me hang, fellas.
Fun time. We'll be out at Charwood tomorrow. All of us will for the annual Summer Golf Classic. Halftime show with Terry Ford coming up next on your Thursday here on The Game.
.1075 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Quietest dishwasher in the land. Like a Bosch. Dishes drier than the desert sand. Like a Bosch. Wash the